Okay, so we got a really interesting question from a listener. It's about Sialkot and whether there was ever something called a national football connected to it, maybe even tied to their family history.
Right, and that's a fantastic question because Sialkot is, I mean, it's huge in the football world.
Huge is an understatement, isn't it?
Yeah.
They make something like, what, 70% of the world hand-stitched footballs? For all the big names?
Exactly. So asking about a specific national football from there, it's digging into a place that's, fundamentally global in its reach.
So our mission, let's say, for this deep dive is to explore that. Can we find evidence of this specific football within Sialkot's pretty amazing manufacturing history? Look at the production, the families involved.
Yeah, see if this idea holds water historically. It's fascinating, the thought of maybe a local brand within this giant export industry.
Where do we even start? The history there goes way back, doesn't it?
It does. We're talking late 19th century. The story usually begins around 1889 with a British sergeant asking a local guy, a saddle maker named Fazal Ilahi, to repair a punctured football.
A saddle maker.
Yeah.
Not even someone in sports goods.
Nope. But apparently he fixed it, got curious, and then started making his own footballs. That one repair sort of lit the fuse.
Wow. And others followed.
Oh, yeah. You had early figures like Syed Saib, there's still a street named after him, I believe. And then the Oberoi brothers, they started with wood and sports stuff in 1883, but by 1918, Oberoi Limited was making footballs, initially for British troops.
So that military connection provided an early market.
Definitely. And then Sialkoti traders started selling in British garrison towns across India. Then came World War I.
Ah,
European manufacturing got hit hard, right? So Sialkot stepped in, exporting more to the British colonies.
that makes sense. Was there much demand within India at the time?
Less so for football, it seems. Cricket was really the big sport domestically, so the focus naturally shifted towards exports pretty early on.
And that focus stuck around,
Yeah.
even through major events like the partition.
Yeah, remarkably. While some Hindu factory owners left in 1947, the majority of the skilled workforce, who were Muslim craftsmen, stayed. So the skills, the knowledge, it remained, and the industry carried on.
Incredible resilience. Okay, so they're making footballs, but we're not talking just one standard type, are we?
Not at all. Sialkot's famous for its hand-stitched balls. That's the traditional method, great quality, really durable, deep seams. Takes time, though.
Right. More labor intensive.
Exactly. Then you have machine-stitched balls, faster to make, lower cost, maybe not as durable, often used for, like, promotional stuff.
Okay.
And now, the more modern ones are thermobonded, seamless, better flight, consistent performance, what the pros tend to use.
And the materials changed too, presumably. Not just leather anymore.
Definitely. Started with leather, but then synthetic leather came in things like Rexine early on, which made balls more affordable. Then PVC, PU, TBSU, different synthetics offering different feels, different durability, water resistance.
So they make a whole spectrum. Match balls, training balls.
Recreational balls, futsal balls, which are heavier, smaller. Even specialized ones for Aussie rules or Gaelic football. Anything you can kick, basically.
Okay, so given this massive range and this deep history, back to the listener's question. Did we find anything concrete about a national football brand?
Well, this is where it gets tricky. Our sources, they clearly show Sialkot as this manufacturing powerhouse for global brands, Adidas, Nike, Puma, you name it.
But not a specific, widely known historical brand called national football.
Not that we could find documented in a major way, no. The narrative is all about Sialkot making balls for other international brands.
But that doesn't completely rule out the listener's connection, does it?
No, absolutely not. It's entirely possible there was a smaller brand, maybe very localized, perhaps with a nationalistic feel, that existed within a particular community or even just within one family's business history.
Right, something that wouldn't necessarily make it into the big historical accounts of the global trade.
Precisely. Those smaller, more niche stories can get lost.
What about the Pakistan national team itself? Did they ever use an official national football?
Well, the team started playing internationally around 1950. And the stories from the early days are quite something. Apparently played barefoot in their first match.
Wow.
But in terms of the ball they used, there's no real evidence pointing to a specific national football brand being their official ball. It would more likely have been dictated by, sponsorships or just meeting international standards at the time.
Okay, so probably not on the national team stage.
Yeah.
What about the families behind the industry? Could the story live there?
That's a strong possibility. We talked about Fazal Elahi, the Spark, the Oberoi brothers formalizing things. There's the Sandal family. Iqbal Sandal actually wrote a history of Sialkot's football production.
Oh, interesting.
And more recently, the Akhtar family, Khawaja Masood Akhtar with Forward Sports, they started in 91 and have made balls for World Cups. Many of these businesses are family affairs.
So the answer might genuinely lie in family records or oral history.
It could very well. We found great local stories about the early ingenuity, Syed Sahib, the first repairs for soldiers. But specific folklore about a national football brand didn't really surface in the material we looked at.
Right. So wrapping this up then, Sialkot's role is undeniable. It's a global giant in making footballs. A huge variety for the biggest names. But this specific national football brand,
It doesn't seem to be a widely documented part of that mainstream history.
but the door's still open for it being a more localized story, maybe a family legacy, right? Perhaps checking family records or stories might be the next step for our listener.
Exactly. And, it leaves you thinking, given how central Sialkot is to football worldwide, what other stories, what innovations, what hidden histories might still be tucked away there?